I'm going to play a little game with y'all that I was playing on my TikTok live. I want y'all to give me a X versus Y, random celebrities who would be in a fist fight, and I will tell you who I think would win and for what reasons. And you can tell me if you agree or disagree. I think this would be a fun game because it's based on nothing, and it's from the perspective of somebody who is so physically weak that like a harsh wind would probably knock me down. I have no room to talk shit, yet I will. Okay. Uh, okay. Thank you again, Floras and Faunas. Okay. Let's see. My mom versus your dad. I feel like your mom. I love my dad. I respect him, but he's like very soft. He's very petite. He's dragging a wagon. It's where I get my soft tookus from. So probably your mom. Your mom could be like a 4'7", like a former Russian gymnast, which would make you think that she'd be in shape, but that actually just means that she hasn't menstruated, like for her entire adolescence, and she started when she was 21, so her body's all jacked. So I think that your mom would win. Kanye West versus Charles Manson. Oh, Charles Manson would rip out Kanye West's jugular with his ragged, incest, like inbred like teeth. Charles Manson, 100%. Ariana versus Nicki. Okay, people forget, like, Nicki is from Jamaica, Queens. Ariana is 90 pounds soaking wet. Nicki would absolutely body Ariana, and Ariana would accept it. Choo Choo from Luna versus Joe Biden. Choo from Luna. Why did I say Choo Choo? I'm assuming Luna is that a K-pop thing versus Jill Biden. I would say I'm gonna go on. You know what? No, anybody who was anybody who survived being an idol probably has the mental fortitude of somebody who like survived a POW camp. So I would say maybe Luna. Maybe the person from Luna. Sorry, Miss Biden, but your PhD ain't gonna help you now. Christian Walker versus Khloe Kardashian. Thank you for misspelling her last name. It's sad that I still knew who you were talking about. Khloe Kardashian now looks hella weak, and her legs look like you could snap them like chicken bones. I'm gonna say Christian Walker because he's filled with such like gay conservative rage, and those two things, like that juxtaposition, is so odd that I feel like he's able to tap into a power that we're not aware of. Mel Brooks versus Joe Biden. At this point, like a partially paralyzed toddler could probably take Joe Biden at this point. You could convince him to like walk off a cliff. I'm gonna say Mel Brooks. His geriatric ass would absolutely body Joe Biden. Let's see, Kamala Harris versus AOC. Ooh, I'ma have to go with. I'm gonna have to go with Miss AOC because I feel like she feels like she has something to prove. Kim Kardashian versus Sofia Vergara. Sofia Vergara would body that little woman, Kim K. What is she, 5'3"? Sofia Vergara is from Mother effing Colombia. She is self-made. I feel like she could move each one of her individual tits, and she'd probably like she'd do that to Kim. She'd do that to Kim K. She'd suffocate her. Um, someone said, "Is your dad petite, fertile, and breedable?" He is the first adjective. He is at this point. I don't think he has any swimmers left. No disrespect. Chris Hemsworth versus Michael B. Jordan. Michael B. Jordan because he has more combat fighting, plus he has veneers, which means that if he bites Chris Hemsworth, it's like double impact because the veneer gets lodged into the skin, but then he still has his like raggedy ass teeth underneath. So that's twice the level of dentures. That's twice the weaponry. Amy Schumer versus Chelsea Clinton. Hmm. You know what? Amy Schumer. I will let her have this one. Chelsea Clinton had to find out that her dad was a pervert on a national stage, and that's embarrassing enough. But so is getting your ass kicked by Amy Schumer. Tom Hanks versus the entire U.S. Senate. The entire U.S. Senate would take turns beating the crap out of Tom Hanks. They would literally line up in a queue and like absolutely obliterate him. Um, but in a way that is still less painful than his son being a rapper. Let's see, Chris Brown, Charlie Brown versus. What do you mean? Do you mean Chris Brown? Who the hell is Charlie? Oh, I completely forgot about Charlie Brown. I completely forgot that Charlie Brown, the cartoon character, existed. Sorry to this man. Sorry to Mr. Charlie Brown versus R. Kelly. Okay. Well, here's the thing. Um, I was about to say that Charlie Brown is R. Kelly's type, but that's not true because he's a little boy. So maybe if you slapped a wig onto him, he would be able to like lure R. Kelly into a sense of security. Because at that point, when R. Kelly is around a young child, a young girl in particular, he does feel like I can literally do whatever I want to you and no one will care because that's the kind of world that we live in, right? But then Charlie Brown, he rips that little wiglet off. He rips that little bob off. And it's like, boo bitch, you're wrong. What it is. Right? And then all that's left is that like little pube that he has that Charles Schultz for some reason decided was an appropriate hairstyle for a 10-year-old. How old is Charlie Brown? 37? Um Anywho, I shared it to my. I completely forgot to share the fact that I was live on Twitch on my Insta story. Isn't it sad that this is my job? Okay. Um. Let's see. Who else? You versus Obama. I would grab Mr. Obama by his two giant satellite ears, and I would whoosh. I'd rip them down. I'd peel them off like the skin of an apple. Saoirse Ronan versus Florence Pugh. I'm gonna have to give it to Saoirse just because her name is more fun to say. That's not even a valid reason. Nancy Pelosi versus Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy's thick ass would absolutely mollywop Nancy Pelosi's brittle body. Let's be real. Okay? Let's be real. She is absolutely going to get decimated. She's going to be. I feel like if you push Nancy Pelosi down a flight of stairs, she'd shatter like a porcelain doll. Stephen Hawking versus Stuart Little. Stuart Little could literally just like unplug Stephen Hawking's breathing machine or whatever he uses to like. Wait, no, he was not on a breathing machine. Why did I think he was in an iron lung? Stuart Little could literally just like crawl up one of Stephen Hawking's orifices and just nibble his way out. You know, like a medieval torture device. So I'm gonna say Stuart Little. Kris Jenner versus Nick Fuentes. Well, they're both unethical and fundamentally don't believe in human rights. I'm gonna say Kris Jenner. Kris Jenner has given birth to 6 children. You know what I mean? So she clearly has a higher pain tolerance than that little fascist twink. So I'm gonna have to give it to Kris Jenner. And I know for a fact that after he loses the fight, Mr. Fuentes would still find a way to somehow blame it on Jews. He'd find some way to blame it on them. Wendy Williams versus Ellen. Wendy Williams now, she ain't doing so well. So I'm gonna go with Ellen. Because Ellen, after she got canceled or whatever, probably like went to some weird retreat in the woods, you know, where she was like sucking the life out of small woodland creatures. So I'm gonna have to go with Ellen. Let's see. The Pope versus James Charles. I'm sorry, like y'all are giving a lot of suggestions, and I'm trying to actually do every single one of them. The Pope versus James Charles. The Pope. The Pope. I could beat up James Charles. Hi, sisters. Hi, sisters. James Charles looks like an inflatable device. I don't know what the hell he did to his face. Let's see. Are you Michael B. Jordan's dentist by any chance? I'm not, but I would love to look into his mouth if he had allowed me to. Joe Rogan versus Gimli. Gimli. I mean, frankly, I think they have similar proportions. But I'm gonna say Gimli because he has more combat experience, whereas Joe Rogan, he might deadlift and like take roids, so his nads probably resemble peppercorn at this point. think Joe Rogan has like proper like combat war experience like Gimli. Timmy Turner versus Jimmy Neutron. Well, Timmy Turner does have like magic on his side, but Jimmy Neutron is a future incel. So I do think that he definitely has a lot of like built-in rage that he could channel into pummeling Timmy Turner. I feel like Jimmy Neutron would win in that because he would hear Timmy Turner's very effeminate sounding voice and it would like trigger some sort of like misogynistic response in his head. So I'm gonna go with Jimmy Neutron. Tati Westbrook versus James Charles versus Shane Dawson triple threat. Shane Dawson would trip on the way to the fight and bust his head open and be eliminated. Tati Westbrook versus James Charles. Tati Westbrook because she would fight dirty. She'd probably like go in there with some sort of tranquilizer dart and just knock out James Charles. But James Charles is like partying in West Hollywood, so getting knocked out with a tranquilizer gun is like hands down not even like the worst night he's ever experienced. Beyonce versus Rihanna. Beyonce is beating that ass. Beyonce can literally run around an entire stage singing in 3 octaves, not missing a single beat, doing full choreography. Rihanna struggles to sing well standing still. Beyonce 100% would kick Rihanna's ass, just based purely on athleticism. People forget Beyonce was basically like a child laborer. She was working since she was 5 years old. She's got nothing on Rihanna. Jeffrey Epstein versus Blair White. Well, his corpse. Do I think he could? Yeah. Blair doesn't seem like she's that physically strong. She little. So I'm gonna go with Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein, I feel like at this point has had much experience subduing petite women. So I feel like he would definitely be able to body her in more ways than one. Gwyneth Paltrow versus anybody. Gwyneth Paltrow would pay an assassin to take the other person out, and I support her. Jonah Hill versus Jamie Lee Curtis. Again, here's the thing. Jonah Hill is soft. He has a body like cream cheese. And I want to dip a red pepper in it and munch on it like a little snack. Jamie Lee Curtis, however, I feel like would come dirty. She'd come with a Glock. She would take a razor blade out of like her tiny little bob, her tiny little hairdo. She would carve up Jonah Hill like a goddamn turkey. And I don't know. I think she'd win. Ben Shapiro versus my grandma. Honestly, it kind of depends. Is your grandma packing? Has your grandma survived through any sort of like intense trauma? I don't know any of the stats about your grandma. But to be fair, your grandma could be comatose, and I'm pretty sure she'd still be able to body him. Kenny from South Park versus Steve's Universe. I ain't never watched Steve's Universe, but at this point, Kenny literally can resurrect from the dead, so I would say him. Easy. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he loses. He's coming back. He's coming back. The Dairy Girls versus Rosalia. The Dairy Girls would band together and they would kick Rosalia's ass. Granted, I think that she would put up a good fight. I feel like Rosalia. Look at me looking through my purse like I'm a goddamn middle-aged woman. I need to moisturize because I feel as if I am not constantly dripping with some sort of liquid on my lips or my skin, I'm going to deteriorate. I'm going to crumble like a fine tissue. Let's see, who else? Caillou versus Arthur. Okay. First of all, Arthur would absolutely body Caillou. That little chemo patient. Arthur is, first of all, he's an animal, so he has the additional strength of another species. Plus, you saw that episode where Arthur gets like really angry and he like pushes over DW? Probably not. But I'm gonna have to go with Arthur. TLC versus Destiny's Child. Destiny's Child because they would have like extras waiting in the wings. You know what I mean? Because there were like 3 members, 4 actually, that basically got kicked to the curb. So you have the three. You got Michelle, you got Kelly, you got Beyonce. But when they get tired, they can tap in, and then Latoya Luckett could come swinging. TLC only has three members. They're by default they're gonna get exhausted. So I'm gonna go with Destiny's Child. What did I just walk into? You just walked into probably the greatest idea that I've had on Twitch. Daniel Radcliffe versus Elijah Wood. I feel like Elijah Wood because he has a creepier essence. You know what I mean? Elijah Wood would come with like anthrax in his little pocket, and he would just to Daniel Radcliffe. So I feel like Elijah Wood. Grade A Under or Mr. Beast? Well, Grade A Under has that really distinct sort of working class English accent. And Mr. Beast at this point has been, and also, didn't he get like something happened to him? I don't remember the drama, but he's not at the top of his game. Mr. Beast at this point has been fattening up on the spoils of his success. So I don't think, um, I personally just don't think that he's fighting ready. You know what I mean? You don't put like a Roman soldier up against an emperor. The emperor would lose. He's soft. He hasn't tasted the blood of war in so long. SpongeBob, specifically when he's in his Iron Lung versus Christian Walker, but he can only do his OnlyFans. Christian Walker has an OnlyFans? No, he does not. No, he does not. I'm gonna go with Christian Walker. I feel like even if Christian Walker was like pussy popping, I am not gonna underestimate his fighting ability. You know what I mean? He also has all of those like pent up daddy issues. He could channel that. SpongeBob is too happy of a person. Robert Downey Jr. in Iron Man versus Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder. Tropic Thunder, 100%. Blackface Robert Downey Jr. would kick Iron Man's ass. You know what I mean? Because Iron Man is like, what is he? Iron Man is nothing without his suit. I know he does that thing where it's like, what are you without your suit? And he goes like, billionaire, sexy man, philanthropist, genius. And I'm like, shut up. You're probably getting pegged by Gwyneth Paltrow back in your luxury penthouse. Stop acting like you're some alpha Chad. Get out of here. Blackface Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder would 100% body Robert Downey Jr. in Iron Man. You take away that suit, physically speaking, he's just a 5'7" man. I mean, so is Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder, but I'm assuming that his character is taller. Do Pluto versus Mickey Mouse. Pluto, because as a dog, I don't think he has a moral compass, and so he'd rip Mickey Mouse's face off. Goofy versus Donald Duck. Goofy would chain Donald Duck in a torture basement and perform like medieval torture techniques on him, all while doing that like what laugh. So I'm gonna go with Goofy on that one. Isn't it strange that Goofy has mated? Like canonically, Goofy has had a child. Does that not disturb any of you? Who fucked him? Anyway, let's see. Do you think Jimmy Neutron frequency is Reddit or 4chan? I think he does 8chan. I think Jimmy Neutron has his own forum. Gwyneth Paltrow versus Anne Hathaway. Gwyneth Paltrow. Gwyneth Paltrow would like open up her punani and like suck in Anne Hathaway. And then she would like absorb the life out of her and then spit her back out, sort of like how birds will consume an animal whole and then afterwards they'll like spit out that pellet that just contains their bones and fur. Yeah. Azalea Banks versus Ice Spice. Azalea Banks. Azalea Banks. 100 mother freaking percent. Azalea Banks. You kidding me? Tucker Carlson versus Eileen Wuornos. All right, Eileen Wuornos has what, 6 bodies that we know of. Tucker Carlson has like what, maybe maximum 3. I'm saying that because he is a trust fund kid, and I automatically assume that they've murdered at least one person, even if it's just a hit and run. Eileen Wuornos, though. I'm gonna have to go with Eileen Wuornos. Queen Elizabeth or Betty White? Well, Queen Elizabeth has allegedly already killed one person, so I feel like she would be more comfortable with taking someone's life. And Betty White might be a little bit too pure. But, so I'm gonna go with Queen Elizabeth on that one. Will Smith versus August Alsina. Will Smith, because he has something to prove at this point. Plus, we clearly know that he knows how to, like, pimp slap. Alexander Skarsgård versus Phil Dunphy. Phil Dunphy, again, here's the thing. The character of Phil Dunphy comes off as like this sweet father, but at the same time, if you push him too far, same thing with Goofy. I feel like he will get to a point where if he you flip the wrong switch, he is going full like Buffalo Bill. He would skin Alexander Skarsgård and wear his skin like a second layer of clothing. He would prop up his skinned body in the middle of his living room and wait until his family came home so that they could see it. So I'm gonna go with Phil Dunphy. Michael Cera versus Jesse Eisenberg. Jesse Eisenberg, 100%. Mainly because he managed to make Mark Zuckerberg look and sound intimidating in a social network. And that takes quite a lot. Michael Cera, here's the thing. I think that Michael Cera could probably like bend over backwards and run on all fours like The Exorcist. I'm probably run up like on walls. I feel like Michael Cera has the physical ability to move his body like he is possessed by a demon. So you know what? I don't know. That's a draw. Snoopy versus Sneeko. Sneeko has a lot of anger, but Snoopy, I feel like has more of a will to live. I can't say that about Sneeko. So I'm gonna go with Snoopy because I feel like he wouldn't give up. Whereas if Snoopy took, let's say, like a face mask of Andrew Tate and just stood and like had his arms open towards Sneeko and sort of gave off this aura of like, come to me, my child. I will love and accept you. Sneeko would immediately let his guard down and he would crawl on all fours. He would drag himself to Snoopy and beg, to be accepted by who he thinks is Andrew Tate. And then Snoopy, that's when he would like, I don't know, take out, I don't know, what weapon would Snoopy use? Maybe like a homemade shank. Who knows what he's keeping in his doghouse? And he would slit that racially ambiguous throat so quick. Yay versus Trump. Again, I'm gonna say yay. I would say that Yay would clobber Trump like Donkey Kong. Um, but only if Trump accidentally called him like Jay Z. If Trump called Yay Jay Z, he was like, Mr. Jay Z, I'm a huge fan. Yay would immediately go like see all black, and Trump would be left a puddle of orange. Miss Piggy versus Ann Coulter. I said this on my Twitch live stream. I think that Ann Coulter has the ability to extend her limbs like Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy, and would wrap around Miss Piggy and just like a python. And I'm sorry, Miss Piggy, I like you, I love you. You're an icon. I love the voice, and also Manju. She can do karate. But I'm gonna go with Ann Coulter because I feel like her fighting technique is something that goes beyond what we understand in this dimension. Peppa Pig versus Elmo. Oh, Peppa Pig. Peppa Pig 100%. You kidding me? Peppa Pig. You know what I think Peppa Pig would do? Peppa Pig would cut off one of her limbs and fry it in butter to entice Elmo with the scent of bacon. And then once you got in close, it would be night night for that little Muppet. He's not a Muppet, he's a puppet. Wait, it doesn't matter. What is Elmo anyway? Like a dog? A seal? Who cares? Snoop Dogg versus Martha Stewart. Martha Stewart, because she's actually been to jail. She has the street cred that Snoop Dogg doesn't. What was he? Attempted murder? Didn't even get convicted. Get out of here. Ooh, let's see. Forrest Gump has the balls and thinks someone hit Jenny in the end zone versus Bobby Butcher thinking Forrest just talked shit about his mama. Does Forrest score the touchdown? Yes. Mainly because hmm, I'm going with Forrest on that one. Solely for Monsters Inc. versus Barbara Streisand. Ooh. Barbara Streisand would hit a high note that was so aggressive that it would shatter Sully's eardrums. And then while he's like bleeding out and convulsing, that's when she would go in for the kill. Floyd Mayweather versus the Harry Potter catalog. Hmm. If this was Mike Tyson, I would say he could take all of them. But here's the question: is this pre or post J.K. Rowling's retcons? Because I feel like if these were the Harry Potter characters that were all like secretly gay but never told anyone, I feel like they would be able to take Floyd Mayweather. But if this was pre retcon Harry Potter characters or catalog, I would say Floyd Mayweather. Taylor Swift versus Matt Walsh. I don't know. Matt Walsh has like a very thick body. Not fat, but like solid like a tree trunk. But Taylor Swift does have very long, sort of elk-like legs, so she could sort of like clobber Matt Walsh. You understand what I mean? And as she's doing it, she'd be screaming like, "Define! This is what a woman is. This is what a woman is." As she's just like humbling him to death. You know what I mean? Marjorie Taylor Greene versus Candace Owens. Marjorie Taylor Greene is beating that ass. She works out. You ever seen those videos of Twitter? Her doing that like those pull-ups that somebody said that she looks like those chimps in captivity. Like those are the exercises that they're doing. 100%. Marjorie Taylor Greene would absolutely clobber Candace Owens. Marjorie Taylor Greene could probably kick the tuchuses of most of the people elected to office. 100%. Jennifer Coolidge versus Cole Sprouse in that one podcast. Once that cigarette was lit, I feel like Cole Sprouse became unhinged. I would go with him. I would go with him. Jennifer Coolidge would. I feel like should be above it. She's like I have another like mini series to shoot. I don't want to invest too much into this. Patrick versus Squidward. Come on now. Patrick because Squidward wants to die, so he wouldn't try. You versus Lizzo. Lizzo would win. Lizzo has more stamina than me, and at that point, I'm like, do I want to win against Lizzo? What would I gain from that? What would I gain from that? Absolutely nothing. Lizzo would win. Emmy Rossum versus Selena Gomez. Selena Gomez is not exactly doing that well physically at the moment. Lupus is a bitch. So I'm gonna say Emmy Rossum because I don't know, she's not dealing with a disease, is she? Emmy Rossum. Plus, she's not getting that shameless check from Showtime anymore, so she has nothing to lose. She's not on their payroll. She can't get fired. Chris Evans versus Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise at this point, I don't think he knows what planet he's on. He just knows that like what most recent project he's trying to promote, and that's it. The second he gets out of the interviews and the press junket, the Scientologists literally turn him off like a toy. They flip a switch on the back of his neck and he shuts down and he hibernates until he's called upon to make them more money. So I'm gonna go with Tom Cruise. 3 billion lions or the sun. I know this is a question about 3 billion lions pissing on the sun. Who would win? The mother effing sun. And you know what? I hope it burns all those little cats up to a crisp. I'm Team Sun. Cookie Monster versus Oscar the Grouch. Mm, Cookie Monster has a debilitating addiction, and so if this was him like pre-Cookie, where he was like jonesing for it, he would eat through Oscar the Grouch. Oscar the Grouch is like me. He talks a lot of shit, but he can't fight. Cookie Monster would absolutely destroy him. You versus Frankie Grande. Frankie Grande would be nothing to me. I would rip off his multicolored hair or hair piece or whatever. And I would lick his scalp like a cat until I stripped through all of the skin and bone and I got to his brain. And then I would lick that smooth too. It would be a slow death. Brother Bear versus Hey Leah. I don't know who that is. I can't answer the question because I have no idea who that is. Caitlyn Jenner versus Teddy Kennedy. Well, Caitlyn Jenner does have several Olympic medals. You know what, Teddy Kennedy, because he would just bring a mollusk. He would just bring one of those old timey guns. Also, didn't he get shot while giving a speech? Wait, when you say Ted, no, 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 that's Roosevelt. I'm stupid. Teddy Kennedy. Wait a minute, didn't he also die? Doesn't matter. I'm gonna go with Kennedy. Actually, no, I'm gonna go with Jenner because I feel like they're much more physically resilient. The Kennedys, I mean, half of them literally got plucked from this earth so quick. Half the family is dead. That family is more prone to accidents. How do you have multiple people in your family get assassinated and then one of them dies in a plane accident? Maybe the family wasn't meant to be. You versus Terry Joe. Terry Joe, come on now. Boomers versus the US healthcare system. Well, they've already taken out the economy and the housing system. So at this point, why not? Boomers. Jackie Kennedy versus Thomas the Tank Engine. Thomas the Tank Engine would roll over that wasp so goddamn quick. All Jackie Kennedy knew how to do was tolerate her husband cheating on her and wear cute little hats.